Hey, you all, how's it going out there today? My name is Janelle, and I just want to thank you for stopping by today. And also wanted to remind you if you could do me a quick favor, and that is to hit the subscribe and the like button for this. If you receive anything beneficial, then that will help me to be able to share more information just like this and more with other individuals that stop by. Thank you so much for doing that for me. But today I wanted to just remind you of something that actually God reminded me of today as I was listening to another message, and it has to do with our words. And he showed me something that I was doing that wasn't beneficial. And we'll get promptings on the inside sometimes. Sometimes we know, okay, this is God moving this and moving me in this direction. Other times we'll just have a knowing, like, I don't know, I just have a strong sense that I'm supposed to go in this direction. And there'll be times in our life where we're ready to make a change, and we might hold ourselves back even after we have that awareness or that knowing. And this is what God was reminding me of today and holding me accountable to, is something that I can actually do, something that I have enough experience and faith to be able to put in Him in regards to doing this thing. And that this thing had to do with what I was saying. And me being able to execute the new in my life is tied in to what I'm saying out of my mouth. And for me, it was what I was saying to God. I've always understood, and as I, look back on how I was saved and how all these things and walking with God, I see how important transparency is with God. I mean, even being saved, it comes down to us acknowledging that there's something missing. If we pretend like, oh, I'm okay and I can pull myself up by my own bootstraps, then we're not able to receive what we actually need because we won't acknowledge it. And so God's shown me, and I've seen, okay, transparency is important. And it's a place of security because I can be open with God the way that I could never be with other individuals. And so that was a place of security for me and still is. But he was showing me is something that was counterproductive. Another level that I needed to step into in order to accomplish the thing that I'm actually desiring to happen in my life. And even though I felt like, well, I am doing this and whatever, I'm doing this, but God will require of us based on what we do, or based on what we know, I should say. And so I might have compared it to another time in my life, and it might be better than that. But for right now, there's something else that's being required. And like I said, God only requires us to do or holds us accountable for the things that He knows that we know to do. Now, it's going to require for me to change an action or a way that I do something. Now, my faith will be stronger, get stronger as I'm stepping out to do it. And it starts with the words that we say. And this is the one thing that He was speaking of is, okay, now you can speak with confidence about this. You can speak faith in this area because you're at that level into which you can speak faith. You don't have to complain to me about this. You don't have to remind me of this certain thing. Now I'm going to have you maneuver in this way. And so you all, this is why I wanted to come to you today, is to also share that with you as I'm going through it, but then also to remind you and encourage you to come along, because as we spoke about before, this is one of the things that's so important, and our words can block us from receiving the thing. It's almost like closing a door to the gift that somebody is trying to deliver or bring to you. Our words can do that. And this is what God was showing me about what I was saying to Him. And so you all, what is that thing that you're prompted to do? It might be a new thing. Like, what is that belief that comes up in your mind? I remember one time where I was spending time with God and I had my journal out, and I felt like, or the thought came up, okay, just take a few seconds. I think it was 30 seconds or 60 seconds. Just write down anything that comes across your mind. And I was surprised at some of the things that came across my mind. As I saw them, I was like, this is not true. Like, why would I believe that? And I believe that that was what God was showing me. He was saying, this is what's getting in the way of this other thing. And the thing about it was that I didn't see that until it was down on paper. And I had to see it in front of my face. And so I want to encourage you all today to do that. Not And you can even just take time with God. Say, God, what is it that I'm believing that's not true? Because if there's anything that we know that we're supposed to have, or something that God said we can have, and we don't have it in the way that we're supposed to have it in our life, then there's something that's getting in the way. And it's a belief system. There's something we're believing that's motivating our actions towards that thing or away from that thing. And so I wanted to challenge you today. Identify, what is it for you? And maybe just one or two things, like what is that thing that you have seen enough to believe that it's possible? You have received enough information to be able to execute safe steps on it. Something that God has been reminding you of, or something, even maybe sometimes we think things or we go in a direction that just doesn't agree with our spirit. Sometimes that's when, how he's trying to communicate in, like, what is it? What is that gives you that uneasiness on the inside when you go to think it or when you go to do it? What is that thing? Write that thing down, and then ask God to help you to identify the truth of the matter, and then a plan. Meaning, for me, it's okay, now I'm going to be intentional about saying this, or now I'm going to be mindful of when I feel something trying to bubble out of my mouth and it doesn't agree with my spirit. I'm not going to let it come. I'm going to be more sensitive to it, and I'm going to be intentional about speaking the truth of the matter, even though I might feel negative in regards to saying it. Okay, it's just like in regards to your health. Say, for instance, you say, I'm happy, healthy, whole, and complete. And maybe at that moment you don't feel happy. Maybe at that moment you don't feel complete. But you know that that's something that God has been speaking over you, so you can start to walk into that reality. But say it anyway. Write it down anyway. Be intentional, okay? When I want to feel negative or feel sad about something that I see in the natural, even though God said that it's not going to stay the same, that it was subject to change, I'm going to speak the thing that he said instead. Even though there's something that I've believed for years, like, oh, I'm never going to have this, or I'm never going to have that. Don't let it come out of your mouth. Don't let it come out of for me not to let it come out of my mouth, to speak the opposite. Because God has just been reminding me, look, that's the way that I'm able to work with your faith, and your words are an expression of the faith. Me being able to walk out something has to do with what I believe. And this speaking is one of the ways that we frame our faith and reframe our mind so that our faith can work for us and not against us. So you all, what is that for you? Identify that and come up with a plan. If you've experienced that, feel free to share it in the comments. I'd love to hear about any sort of things that God is putting on your heart to do. Maybe something you're excited about stepping out or trying, or even maybe something that you're nervous about, but it's something that you're capable of and that God definitely wants to walk you to and through. Share that in the comments. Let's pray for one another. So, all right, you all, I hope that was helpful, and I'll talk to you all soon. Have a good day.